My name is Mark Miner. I am an investigative writer and author. In my travels, I've investigated many people and places. Watch as I seek out stories that are typically outside of the box of normal. I am the Seeker.
Yeah.
So you had a situation happen or an experience with possibly seeing, and I'm going to say possibly,
Yeah.
because I don't want to assume anything until you tell the story,
Right.
of seeing an alien being.
Right.
You sent me pictures. What was that, a year ago?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I was really amazed by the pictures and what you caught. And I didn't tell you, but I actually sent the pictures to some people, like Damien Knott in Australia I'm friends with, and some of the leading people in that area. And because I'm thinking, okay, could it have been a reflection on the window?
Yeah.
Could have been anything. And everybody I've talked to said that seems very legit. So I just wanted, I know it probably creeps you out
Yeah, it
hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah, because when I originally started showing everybody, I was so ready for people to say, you know, you had an experience, you were overstimulated,
Oh, yeah.
just freaked out. It was a case of pareidoia.
Mm-hmm.
It was a reflection of a car in a parking lot, is what I was really hoping to
Anything
hear.
to
Yeah.
excuse it off. I
But
know. Been
I've
there.
never had anybody be able to tell me that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I primarily kind of sort of blame myself for that situation.
Meaning?
I get crazy ideas because I'm so curious about the world around us, and especially about the paranormal realm.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always enjoyed playing with remote viewing.
Yeah.
And again, I'm always so fascinated when I find out that I've actually done it correctly. You know, I'll be on the phone with my friends and I'm like, drive somewhere and let me try to remote view it and see if I'm right. And then they'll send me a picture after and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it worked, you know? And so I thought, well, okay, I've been accurate-ish enough that I will try to remote view into the Montauk base.
Okay.
And see if there's an underground and, you know. So I was on the phone with my sister at the time. And she's very grounded. She's not as much out there like I am with spirituality, intuition, all that kind of stuff. She is what grounds me a lot.
Right.
And she always likes to play devil's advocate as well for me, which is very helpful.
Yeah, I have siblings like that.
Yeah. And so I had... there was a place on the land that seemed like you could access the basement from this manhole or something.
Wait, you've been to the Montauk?
No.
Oh, okay.
In the reviewing.
Oh, okay.
thing.
Remote viewing. Okay.
And so mentally I went down there, and then I was in. It seemed like an underground tunnel, and there was lights down there. It seemed like it was still in use, that it wasn't actually abandoned, but they want people to think that it is, but
Right.
It's not. And I was standing on this, it was like a metal grate that has stairs, and I look over to my left and I see something it's like it's rushing at me, and my sister at the same time was like, stop. She had a terrible feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I, click out of it immediately because it's simultaneously this, whatever it is bam, right in my face. She says stop, and it was scary. It was jarring.
Right.
Especially for her because she doesn't have feelings like that, So it was a couple days later. Slough it off, just, get over it. That was, And I'm out on the patio, and at the time I was writing for this little newsletter that our apartment had.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing out there, and Earth Hour, I was thinking about Earth Hour, and could our community participate in that, just turn off all the lights, and we were on the edge of town, farm fields, and I thought, wow, the sky is so clear. Imagine if all of our lights were off. What
Yeah.
could we see?
So Earth hour is
Where it's like you turn off your lights, your electricity for that 1 hour, and it conserves, however much.
Right.
So, I was thinking about how cool it'd be to participate in that. Well, I'm sitting on my patio, and my building's over here. There's a green space, and then there's this other building over here. There's a sidewalk down here with a little white picket fence.
And not to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
I will put those pictures in
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Okay,
No,
okay.
no.
So that everybody that's watching this knows what you're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I see this large cloud of smoke, and I thought it was one of those, I'm gonna sound like a grandma here, but like the vape stuff where the people are like, wah, with the dragon breath of smoke that just
Oh,
comes
yeah,
out,
the vape. Yeah, yeah.
So,
I work with people who do that.
right, so I'm just like, gosh, this is so much. Like, how is this, where's the person, This cloud of smoke forms into this being that I'm at the top floor, and I'm watching it walk 2 legs just like a person. This is not a person.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm watching it, and I'm slowing down my breathing, because I'm sitting there going, don't breathe too loud. Don't stare at it too hard.
Because
Try
then
not
it'll
to
see
think.
you.
Yeah, because then you could do that energetic connection. I was terrified it was going to turn and look at me.
Yeah.
And so I'm just almost holding my breath, and I'm frozen. And then I see it walk, and there's this tree right here next to the fence, and it doesn't walk beyond the tree. It's like it goes through this invisible door.
Mm-hmm.
And then your eyes don't, we don't see that stuff here in our reality. So you're
Right.
really kind of like, what did I just see? And you're kind of blinking. Well, if it could just manifest out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
who's to say it can't manifest right here on the patio with me?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm froze.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn my back. If I turn my back, I'm thinking it's going to be right there, So I rush inside. I call my sister. I slam the sliding glass door, pull the blinds. I got my sister on the line, and I'm just hysterical. And then I realize my kid's window. I need to go shut that, because it was open as well.
Right.
And they were having a sleepover. They didn't know anything was going on. So I have my sister on the line, and I go into their room. I go to pull the blinds, and I look up, because I just have that feeling to look up. And I have my phone in my hand, so it's like this. And my eyes are drawn directly to it. And I'm like, this can't be, this isn't, but I'm gonna take a picture, and then I can review it and prove to myself that this was not it.
Right.
So I take the picture and let go of the blinds, like, choop, boop, just,
Yeah.
and I go into the living room, and I'm frantically trying to send it to my then at the time, Vance was my co-host for the Caravan, and my sister. And I said to them, keep this. I don't want it.
Right.
I want nothing to do with it, because I've had other photographs that I've taken where they're ghosts or whatever it is, and I'm just too afraid of having that energetic connection
Right.
linked to me. I don't want anything popping up in my house, so I just delete it. I don't care. I know that a lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, that's research, that's evidence. I really don't feel that any photo or any video is ever going to be enough.
Well, that research will always be there.
Right.
But you have to, and I know, I think we're akin to this.
Yeah.
So you have to protect yourself 1st. You have to set the stage before you can properly go into something with an objective view.
Right.
Right. So I get what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was and then there was one other really weird thing that happened after that. It was a little while later. There was a white van that showed up. Now, we didn't have any renovations, any painting, anything that we needed in that whole apartment complex.
Right.
But I felt weird about it. So I was watching it, and Vance was on the phone with me. And it parks, and these two men get out. And they look like painters, and they've got this bucket. They kind of look around, and then I'm just like feeling dread. They go right across the parking lot, up my stairs, and directly to my door, and they knock on my door. I did not answer the door.
Yeah.
I stayed as quiet as I could. And then I heard, it was like they brushed the paintbrush over my door. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And then they just walk away, kind of look around, get in the van, they drive off.
Yeah.
Vance at the time told me, run a magnet on the door. And so I did that. And the alien topic, I don't know. I've had some strange things happen as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then my parents were in the Air Force. And so it's definitely a topic that I've kind of stayed out of just because it's so real to me.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate you sharing that. And
Yeah.
so I want to ask you a few questions, but I'm gonna insert something here, so I'm gonna move the camera a little bit.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you guys that what she's talking about is something real to her. Right now, with everything that's going on in the world, everybody's saying that when we talk about stuff like this, we're paranoid, or we're making things up to get attention, or stuff like that. Those are people who like to live in little boxes, who don't want to step outside the lines of reality. You can walk around and live in this mirage all you want, but I don't want anybody giving their opinion or knocking down what I'm doing or what Lady Ann's doing. So keep those comments to yourself, because we're all about maturity here. What we do, because we're very similar in that way, Lady Ann and I, is we step outside that box. We live outside that box, and we try to find other things in reality. Because we know it's there. People know it's there. They choose to ignore it, and we don't know why. So, you tell your kid not to get in that cookie jar, the cookies are going to be gone by tomorrow. Because that's what we do. We steal
Yes.
those cookies. So we go out there and find that cookie jar. So I just wanted to put that in there, and then I want to get some more questions from you.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
so the thing with the alien thing. So when you're at the window, and because you raise the blinds, because at this point in time, and the reason why I'm asking these questions, because I've been there,
Yeah.
and so right now you're back to your animal basics, your animal instincts, and you're very alert.
Yeah.
Not just with your hearing and sight and everything like that, but your whole spiritual being's on alert.
Yeah.
And this is what animals do in the woods and stuff. And it's like, something's there. You can't describe it. This is that outside that box thing.
Right.
That the government knows that us humans possess this ability.
Yes.
Because, you guys do your research online. She referred to the Montauk experiment, but there's been many experiments that they still to this day use remote viewing.
Yes.
Just go online and look at research on what government. I'm not going to list them all because I want to bore everybody. But anyways, when you're at that window and you raise those blinds, tell me how you were feeling at the moment. And I want you to do this because I want people to feel that commonality, like they're not out there by themselves.
Right. So I had actually rushed into their room because their window was open and the blinds were up, and I was wanting to pull it down.
Right.
And so when I rushed in there, I was still just in shock, number one. And I had enough time to grab the blind cord. And in the moment that I could feel that something was staring at me, and I was looking back at it, it was a moment of just holding your breath.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no, like, you cannot be unseen.
Right.
It's staring right at you. You know, it's like, how would you feel if you're standing in front of a cougar?
Right.
You're just kind of, I don't know how to say it. You're just.
Well, I guess in my experience in this was, like I knew something was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it to be real, but I was fighting myself. Like no, it has to be this. No, it has to, that skepticism.
Right.
And I do that
Yeah.
all the way until it's the very end, like, nope, this is
Right.
true.
Right.
When you get to that truth mark, which I think is the moment at the window for you,
Yeah.
it is hard to explain. So this is the wholeness of everything. This is what people are meant to see and to know and experience.
Right.
This is the things that we should have been taught
Right.
as children that exist.
Right.
Because it's very real.
Yeah.
So when you're in it, everything seems bigger. Everything seems more universal. It's almost like when, like in the movie The Matrix, when Neo finally finds out there is a Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he goes back into the Matrix,
Mm-hmm.
it seems so petty and small and
Right.
insignificant. So when this experience for you is over,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like, okay, now I got to go live in the plastic world again.
Ah. Right. Right.
So I think that's how I felt. So, like, when I'm at work or I'm shopping or I'm doing whatever, I'm doing what is expected of me.
Right.
I'm the handmaid.
Oh.
Because
Yes.
that's exactly what the world expects me to do.
Right.
But what they don't understand is when I'm at home or I'm in situations such as that, because when I'm out there hunting things down, I will run after something instead of getting scared and running away. I don't want to,
Right.
but I have to, because that's the wholeness, and you almost become a junkie in that, and you
Yeah.
want that wholeness because I want the truth, and
Right.
you know what I'm saying. So that's why I was asking you about that moment at the window
Right. Yeah.
in a
no.
long-winded way.
No, it's good. It's good. I mean, I felt in that very moment, though, I did feel defeated.
Hmm.
Because, we live under the illusion that we are at the top, and we are not.
Yeah. No. Oh no.
We are not, and people need to realize that and remember that. For me, one of the biggest moments that I had was, last month when I had my Sasquatch or whatever it was encounter. It was realizing that humans have become so disconnected, that we have lost so much of ourselves.
Hmm.
That's my big thing.
You think it's more of a denial thing?
I do. I mean,
Yeah.
we want to live in our cookie cutter worlds. We want to live in the plastic
It's
world.
safe.
I mean,
It's comfortable.
look at parents, and this is one of my biggest things that I also talk about on my show. How can you tell your children that this stuff doesn't exist? What are you going to do when your child has a terrifying experience because it is real, and you've said that this isn't real and they can't hurt you? Now the child is even more traumatized.
Yeah. Well, also too, like I have kids. I never did this to my kids, but
Right.
you raise your kids and you teach them Santa Claus. You teach them Easter Bunny. You teach them all this stuff like that.
Right.
All these mythical creatures, and there's the Tooth Fairy and all that.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I never get calls.
Yeah, it probably wants you to extend your car warranty.
Probably, actually.
So, and then when they get old enough, we're like, oh, okay, we lied to you. That's not true. But when I was as a kid, I was told that, me and my sister Candy, I have a lot of sisters and brothers. We're Irish, but me and Candy was always the ones that said, you know what? What if they weren't lying?
Right.
What if there is something out there? And she herself goes and does what I do in a smaller scale. She's in Las Vegas. But so I agree with you. When you tell children or even adults nowadays,
Right.
this stuff that we're talking about, these incidents, these experiences are real. Stop making people feel like they're crazy.
Right.
There are those who suffer from schizophrenia and other forms of mental issues, but use your intuition about people.
Yeah.
Use, exercise that stuff and know that what they experience is real to them. And if it can be real to them, what's the possibility of it being real to you? Very well, So,
Oh, yeah. Well, and what you're doing, what I'm doing, everybody else in the paranormal community and the podcast is very healing.
yeah.
I'll never forget the very first podcast that I went on. And I told my story, and then I got all these messages from people even down in New Zealand. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really not crazy, and I'm really not alone.
Right.
So, yeah, it's huge.
But we're not Zach Bagans.
Yeah.
So I really don't really care for that guy. And so kudos to everybody who does go out on podcasts and, on television shows and radio shows and stuff like that. And even some of the mainstream people like Joe Rogan, who is now kind of stepping over that line a little bit and going more towards the paranormal and the supernatural. Because in what's going on with this in society right now, we're not desperate,
Right.
but we're being faced with a lot of truths right now. This is the year of disclosure. A lot of stuff has been coming out about that. And when I talk about that with other people, as far as like we have been in contact with aliens for a long time and we got a lot of our technology from that, they're like, nah, then you give me some answers. That's what I tell them. Prove me right.
Right. Yeah.
And in that sense, if you can't, then I'm wrong.
Yeah. There you go.
Don't
There you
prove me
go.
wrong, prove me right.
Right.
And so they just shut up and move on. And because they don't want to deal with it.
Right. No.
So when there are people like you and I and those others who use the media and everything to show people that we're out there doing it, don't knock us down for it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right. It's
anyways.
understandable. It's hard. People don't like change,
Right,
and they don't like their comfortableness to be poked or prodded.
right.
So